You know that moment when you think you have everything figured out, when life feels perfect, stable, secure, when you trust the people closest to you with everything you have. I had that life. I was living that dream. And in just 2 months, while I lay broken in a hospital bed, unable to walk, unable to come home, unable to protect what was mine, everything I loved was stolen from me. And the person who destroyed it all, she didn't break into my home like a stranger. I gave her the keys. I welcomed her in because she was family. She was my sister. My name is Laura, and this is the story of how I lost everything and how I got it all back in the most devastating way possible. Before we dive deep into this, I need you to do something for me right now. Smash that like button right now. Subscribe to this channel and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from, because what I'm about to tell you is going to shake you to your core, and I want to know that I'm not alone in this. I want to know you're here with me. Let me take you back to where it all started. 2 years ago, I was 32 years old, married to the love of my life, Daniel. We'd been together for 7 years, married for 4. Daniel was everything I'd ever wanted in a partner. Thoughtful, hardworking, romantic in the small ways that mattered. He'd bring me coffee in bed every Sunday morning. He'd leave little notes in my purse before I went to work. He remembered every anniversary, every special moment, every inside joke we'd ever shared. We had this beautiful 3-bedroom house in the suburbs, the kind with a white picket fence and a garden I'd spent years cultivating. I worked as a project manager at a marketing firm, something I was genuinely proud of. I'd built my career from the ground up, and I was good at what I did. Life wasn't just good, it was perfect. We were talking about starting a family. We just finished renovating the guest bedroom, painting it a soft cream color, talking about how it would make a perfect nursery someday soon. Daniel and I would sit on the porch in the evenings, drinking wine, planning our future. We talked about baby names. We talked about family vacations. We talked about growing old together. I trusted him completely. With my heart, with my home, with my future. I had no reason not to. I also had a sister, Jessica. She was 28, 4 years younger than me. Growing up, we'd been close the way sisters often are. But as we got older, something shifted. Jessica struggled. She couldn't keep a job for more than a few months. She moved from apartment to apartment, always behind on rent, always asking for money, always in some kind of drama. She went through boyfriends like tissues, each one worse than the last. She'd call me crying at 2 in the morning about her latest heartbreak, and I'd always answer. I'd always help. Because that's what family does, right? You show up. You support each other, even when it's hard. Jessica was beautiful, I'll give her that. Long dark hair, bright green eyes, the kind of smile that made people stop and stare. She knew how to work a room, how to make people fall in love with her charm. But there was always something underneath, something I tried not to see. A jealousy, a bitterness, especially when it came to me. Whenever I achieved something, got a promotion, bought something nice, she'd smile and congratulate me, but her eyes never matched her words. Daniel noticed it too. He'd mentioned it once or twice, gently, carefully, saying things like, "She seems a little competitive with you, doesn't she?" But I'd brush it off. She was my sister, my blood. I thought I knew her. I thought I could trust her. I was wrong. Happened on a Tuesday. Isn't it strange how life can change on the most ordinary of days? I was driving home from work, late evening, around 7:30. The sun had just set and the roads were darkening. I was tired, ready to get home, ready to see Daniel, maybe order takeout and watch something mindless on TV. Just a normal Tuesday. I was driving through an intersection, green light, not speeding, doing everything right. And then, out of nowhere, a truck ran the red light from the side. I didn't even have time to scream. The impact was instantaneous. Metal crunching, glass exploding, the world spinning violently. I remember the sound more than anything, this deafening crash that seemed to echo inside my skull. Then there was pain. Blinding, searing pain shooting through my legs, my ribs, my arms. The airbag deployed, slamming into my face. I tasted blood. Everything smelled like burnt rubber and something chemical, maybe the airbag powder. I couldn't move. I tried, but my body wouldn't respond. My legs felt like they were on fire and numb at the same time, if that makes sense. I could hear my own breathing, fast and shallow, panicked. Then voices, someone shouting, a woman screaming, "Oh my God, someone call an ambulance." Footsteps running toward my car, hands on the door trying to open it, but it was jammed. I wanted to tell them I was okay, but I wasn't okay. I couldn't speak. My vision was blurring, darkening at the edges. I remember thinking very clearly, this is it. This is how I die. On a Tuesday. On a normal, boring Tuesday. The ambulance arrived. I don't know how long it took. Time felt strange, stretched and compressed all at once. Paramedics pried open the door. They were talking to me, asking me questions. Can you hear me? What's your name? Can you move your legs? I tried to answer, but everything was fatting. I heard one of them say something about spinal precautions, about trauma, about getting me out carefully. They used some kind of equipment to cut through the wreckage. The whole time, I kept thinking about Daniel. Did he know? Was someone calling him? Would I ever see him again? I passed out before they got me into the ambulance. When I woke up, I was in a hospital room, bright fluorescent lights, the smell of antiseptic, beeping machines all around me. My entire body ached, but it was a distant ache, muted, probably from whatever medication they'd pumped into me. I tried to move and immediately regretted it. Pain shot through my left leg, sharp and unforgiving. I gasped, and that's when I heard his voice. Laura, baby, don't move. You're okay. You're safe. Daniel, he was there, sitting in a chair beside my bed, looking like he hadn't slept in days. His eyes were red, his hair a mess, his shirt wrinkled. He grabbed my hand carefully, like I might shatter if he held too tight. Daniel, I whispered. My throat was so dry. What happened? You were in an accident, he said, his voice cracking. A bad one, but you're alive. You're going to be okay. A doctor came in shortly after, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes and a no-nonsense attitude. She explained everything to me in terms I could barely process. Multiple fractures in my left leg. Broken ribs, a concussion, severe bruising and internal injuries that they'd managed to stabilize. But the leg was the big problem. They'd had to operate, insert pins and rods to hold the bones together. Recovery was going to be long, very long. How long? I asked, dreading the answer. You'll be here for at least 8 weeks, possibly longer, she said. We need to monitor your healing, manage your pain, get you through physical therapy before you can even think about going home. And even then, you'll need significant support. You won't be able to walk unassisted for months. 8 weeks, 2 months, in a hospital bed, away from my home, my life, everything I knew. I felt tears sliding down my cheeks before I could stop them. Daniel squeezed my hand. We'll get through this, he said. I'll be here every day, I promise. And he was. For the first week, Daniel came every single day after work. He'd sit with me, talk to me, bring me things from home, books, my laptop, my favorite snacks. He tried so hard to keep my spirits up, but I could see the strain on him. He was exhausted. He was working full-time, then coming to the hospital, then going home to an empty house, trying to manage everything alone. I felt like such a burden. That's when Jessica showed up. It was about 10 days after the accident. I was having a particularly bad day, pain shooting through my leg despite the medication, feeling frustrated and helpless and utterly miserable. Daniel was there, looking as worn out as I felt, when there was a knock on the door. Jessica walked in, carrying flowers and wearing an expression of such deep concern that it actually made me feel a little better. She rushed to my bedside, eyes wide with shock. Oh my God, Laura, she breathed. I came as soon as I heard. I'm so sorry. Are you okay? Well, obviously you're not okay, but God, this is awful. I managed a weak smile. Hey, Jess, yeah, it's been rough. She set the flowers down and looked at Daniel, then back at me. I feel terrible. I should have come sooner. I didn't know how bad it was until Mom told me. Our mother lived 3 states away and had visited once, briefly, before having to leave for a work commitment. That was fine. We weren't super close with our parents, but Jessica being here, that meant something to me. We talked for a while. She asked about my injuries, my treatment, my prognosis. She made jokes to try to cheer me up, some of them actually landing. And then, as she was getting ready to leave, she looked between Daniel and me with this thoughtful expression. You know, she said slowly, I've been thinking. Daniel, you look exhausted. And Laura, you must be so worried about the house, about everything piling up while you're stuck here. It's been a lot, Daniel admitted, rubbing his face. I'm trying to keep up with everything, but... What if I helped? Jessica interrupted. She said it so casually, like it was the most natural thing in the world. I'm between jobs right now anyway, and my lease is actually up next week. I was going to look for a new place, but what if I stayed at your house for a while, just temporarily? I could keep an eye on things, help Daniel out, make sure everything's running smoothly. Cook meals, clean, water your garden, Laura, whatever you need. I looked at Daniel. He looked at me, and honestly, it seemed like a godsend. The relief on Daniel's face was obvious. Are you sure? I asked Jessica. That's a lot to ask. You're not asking, I'm offering, she said with a warm smile. You're my sister. You've always been there for me. Let me be there for you now, please. What was I supposed to say? It made perfect sense. Daniel needed help. I needed peace of mind. Jessica needed a place to stay. Everyone won. It was practical. It was kind. It was family helping family. Okay, I said, feeling a wave of gratitude wash over me. Thank you, Jess, really. That would be amazing. She beamed. It's settled then. I'll move in this weekend. Daniel nodded, looking genuinely relieved. Thank you, Jessica, seriously. This takes a huge weight off. She hugged him, a quick, friendly hug, nothing strange about it. Then she hugged me, carefully, mindful of my injuries. Don't worry about anything, she whispered in my ear. I'll take care of everything. And as she left that hospital room, I remember feeling so lucky. Lucky to have survived. Lucky to have a husband who loved me. Lucky to have a sister who would drop everything to help me in my darkest moment. I had no idea what I'd just done. No idea that I'd just invited a poison into my home. That I'd handed over the keys to my life to someone who'd been waiting for this opportunity. Who'd been envious, resentful, hungry for everything I had. I gave her access to my home. My husband. My entire life. And she took it all. Jessica moved in that following weekend. Daniel told me about it during one of his visits. He seemed genuinely happy about it, relieved even. He said Jessica had arrived with just 2 suitcases and a bright, helpful attitude. She'd immediately set to work organizing things, asking where everything was kept, making herself useful. She'd cleaned the kitchen, done the laundry that had been piling up, even went grocery shopping so Daniel would have proper meals instead of the takeout he'd been living on. She's been amazing, Laura, Daniel said, sitting beside my hospital bed, holding my hand. Honestly, I don't know what we'd do without her. She made this incredible pasta last night from scratch, and the house feels lived in again, not so empty and depressing. I smiled, feeling that same gratitude from before. I'm so glad. I've been so worried about you handling everything alone. You don't need to worry about anything, he assured me. Just focus on getting better. Jessica and I have everything under control at home. Jessica and I, he said it so naturally, so comfortably. At the time, I didn't think anything of it. Why would I? They were 2 people sharing a space temporarily, working together to keep my household running while I recovered. It made sense that they'd become a team of sorts. It made sense that they'd coordinate, communicate, spend time together. They were both doing this for me, to help me. That's what I told myself. Jessica visited me too several times that first week. She'd come in the evenings, sometimes with Daniel, sometimes alone. She'd tell me about her day, about how she'd reorganized my spice cabinet because it was absolute chaos, about how she'd finally figured out how to work our complicated coffee maker, about how she'd trimmed the roses in the garden because they were getting overgrown. She spoke about my home with such familiarity, such ownership almost, but I appreciated it. She was taking care of things. She was helping. You have such a beautiful home, Laura, she said one evening, sitting in the chair beside my bed. You and Daniel have really built something special. Thank you, I said. We've worked hard for it. It shows. She paused, playing with the edge of her sleeve. You know, staying there, seeing how you live, it's made me realize I need to get my life together. You've always been so put together, so successful. I want that too. It seemed like a sweet moment of sisterly bonding. Like maybe this situation was helping her grow, giving her direction. I reached out and squeezed her hand. You'll get there, Jess. You just need to find your path. There's no rush. She smiled at me, and I swear her eyes looked almost sad. Yeah, my own path. The days blurred together in that hospital. They started a routine of physical therapy, which was absolute torture. Trying to move my broken body, trying to rebuild strength in muscles that had atrophied, trying to bear weight on a leg that screamed in protest with every tiny movement. I cried during most of those sessions. The physical therapist, a kind woman named Monica, kept encouraging me, telling me I was doing great, that pain was part of healing. But it didn't feel like healing. It felt like being broken over and over again. Daniel's visits became my lifeline. Every evening, like clockwork, he'd show up with something to brighten my day. Sometimes flowers, sometimes my favorite chocolate, sometimes just stories from the outside world that reminded me life was still happening beyond these sterile walls. We'd talk for hours. About his work, about my progress, about the future, about when I'd finally come home. But somewhere around the third week, something shifted. It was subtle at first, so subtle I almost didn't notice. Daniel started arriving later. Not by much, maybe 15, 20 minutes, but enough that I'd find myself watching the clock, waiting, anxiety creeping in. When he did arrive, he seemed distracted. He'd check his phone more often. His stories from home became shorter, less detailed. He'd stay for an hour, maybe 90 minutes, then say he was tired and needed to get back. "Is everything okay?" I asked one night, watching him yawn for the third time. "Yeah, just exhausted," he said. "Work's been brutal, and then keeping up with stuff at home." "Is Jessica still helping out?" "Oh yeah, she's great, really great. She's got everything handled." He said it quickly, then changed the subject. "How was physical therapy today?" I told him, but something nagged at me. Something in his voice when he mentioned Jessica, a warmth, a familiarity. I pushed it down. I was being paranoid. Hospital brain. Too much time alone with my thoughts. Jessica's visits changed too. She started coming less frequently, maybe twice a week instead of every other day. When she did come, she looked different. Better. Her hair was styled more carefully. She wore nicer clothes, things I didn't recognize. She'd lost weight, looked more radiant somehow. She glowed. "You look great," I told her during one visit. "What's your secret?" She laughed, a light, musical sound. "Oh, I've just been taking better care of myself. Eating better, going for runs in the morning. Your neighborhood is perfect for that, by the way. So peaceful and pretty." Your neighborhood? She said it like she lived there. Well, technically she did. Temporarily, I reminded myself of that, temporarily. "I'm glad you're settling in okay," I said. "More than okay," she said, and something flickered across her face. Something I couldn't quite read. "It's been really good for me being there. Daniel and I have gotten close. He's really wonderful, Laura, you're lucky." "I know," I said, smiling. "He's the best." "He really is." She held my gaze for a moment too long, then looked away. "Anyway, I can't stay long today. I have to get back and start dinner. Daniel's been working so hard, I want to make sure he eats well." After she left, I lay in that hospital bed, staring at the ceiling, feeling something cold settle in my stomach. Something was off. I couldn't name it, couldn't point to any one thing that was wrong, but the feeling was there. A whisper of wrongness. I called my best friend, Maya. She was the only person besides Daniel and Jessica who visited regularly, usually on weekends. Maya had been my friend since college, the kind of friend who knew all my secrets, who I trusted completely. "I need you to tell me I'm being crazy," I said when she answered. "Okay, you're being crazy. What's this about?" I explained my feelings, the subtle shifts, the nagging worry. Maya listened quietly. "Have you noticed anything when you visit?" I asked. "Does Daniel seem different to you?" She was quiet for a moment, too quiet. "Laura, I don't want to worry you while you're recovering." My heart dropped. What is it?" "It's probably nothing. But last weekend when I stopped by the house to drop off those books you wanted, Jessica answered the door. She was wearing, I think it was your robe, that blue silk one Daniel got you for your birthday." I couldn't breathe. "What?" She said she'd spilled coffee on her clothes and grabbed the first thing she saw. It made sense, but something about the way she said it, I don't know. And Daniel was there in the background, and they just seemed comfortable, really comfortable, like I was interrupting something. "Interrupting what?" My voice came out sharper than intended. "I don't know, maybe nothing. That's why I didn't mention it. I don't want to plant ideas in your head when you're stuck in there and can't do anything about it. But the ideas were already planted, already growing. What else? Tell me everything. Laura. Maya, please. She sighed. The house smelled like candles, the expensive ones you save for special occasions. There was wine on the coffee table, 2 glasses, and they were watching a movie together. Again, nothing necessarily wrong with that, but the vibe was just, I don't know, cozy, intimate. After I hung up, I couldn't stop thinking, couldn't stop the images forming in my mind. Jessica in my robe, my candles burning, my wine being shared, in my home, with my husband. I told myself there were innocent explanations. Jessica had needed to borrow a robe. They'd opened wine with dinner. They were watching a movie because what else were they supposed to do in the evenings? They lived together temporarily. Of course they'd interact. Of course they'd spend time in common spaces. But Maya's word kept echoing, intimate. I started paying more attention after that, watching for details I'd previously overlooked. And once I started looking, I couldn't stop seeing things. Daniel came to visit on a Thursday evening, later than usual. It was almost 8 o'clock, and visiting hours ended at 9. He seemed rushed, distracted. Sorry I'm late, he said, kissing my forehead quickly. Lost track of time. Doing what? I asked, trying to keep my voice casual. Just stuff around the house. You know how it is. I didn't know. I hadn't been home in a month. Is Jessica there? Yeah, she's making dinner. You didn't want to eat with her. He looked at me strangely. I wanted to see you. I'll eat when I get back. So she's cooking for both of you. Laura, what's this about? He sounded defensive. That was new. Nothing. I want to know what's happening at home. Is that weird? No, of course not. He softened, took my hand. I'm sorry, I'm just tired. Jessica's been great, really helpful. She keeps the house running, cooks, cleans. It's made everything easier, that's all. That's all, I repeated. We sat in awkward silence for a moment. This had never happened before. We'd never had awkward silences. We'd been together 7 years, and conversation had always flowed naturally, easily. Now it felt strained, forced. How's physical therapy going? He asked, clearly trying to redirect. I told him, but I was barely paying attention to my own words. I was watching his face, looking for, what? Guilt? Deception? I didn't even know. He kept checking his phone, 3 times in 20 minutes. Are you expecting a call? I finally asked. What? No, just checking the time. There's a clack on the wall. He looked at me, really looked at me, and something flickered in his eyes. Frustration, annoyance. Laura, what's going on? You're acting strange. I'm acting strange? Daniel, you're the one who can barely focus on our conversation, who keeps checking your phone, who shows up late and seems like he can't wait to leave. That's not fair. I've been here every single day. Lately you've been here in body, but your mind is somewhere else. He stood up, running his hands through his hair. I can't do this right now. I'm exhausted, Laura. I'm working all day, then trying to manage everything at home, then coming here. I'm stretched thin. Can you give me a break? I felt tears prick my eyes. I'm sorry, you're right. I know this is hard on you too. He sat back down, took my hand again. I love you. You know that, right? I'm doing all of this because I love you. I know, I whispered. But as he left that night, leaving early, saying he was too tired to stay until the end of visiting hours, I watched him walk out the door and felt certainty settle over me like a heavy blanket. Something was happening. Something was very wrong. The next day, Jessica visited. She came alone in the afternoon, which was unusual. She brought magazines and a smoothie from my favorite place. Thought you could use a treat, she said brightly. Thanks. I took the smoothie but didn't drink it. I just watched her, really watched her. She looked incredible. She was wearing a dress I'd never seen before, something elegant and expensive looking. Her makeup was flawless. Her hair cascaded in perfect waves. She looked like someone going on a date, not someone visiting their hospitalized sister. You're all dressed up, I said. Oh, this. She glanced down like she'd forgotten what she was wearing. I had a job interview this morning. Thought I'd stop by after. How'd it go? Really well, actually. I think I have a good shot. She settled into the chair. So, how are you feeling? You look tired. I am tired. Tired of being here. Tired of being in pain. Tired of being away from my life. She made a sympathetic sound. I can't imagine how hard this is for you. Can't you? The words came out sharper than I intended. She blinked. What do you mean? Nothing, sorry, I'm just frustrated. I paused, then decided to push. How are things at home, really? Good, fine. Everything's running smoothly. And you and Daniel, you're getting along okay. Something shifted in her expression, just for a second. A flash of something guilty, something knowing. But then it was gone, replaced by that same helpful, sisterly concern. Of course, Daniel's great, super easy to live with, very respectful, very kind. She paused. Why do you ask? Just making sure it's not awkward. You know, living with your sister's husband. It's not awkward at all. She said it too quickly. We're both adults. We're both just trying to help you. That's all this is about. That's all this is about. The way she said it sounded rehearsed, like she'd practiced that line. Does Daniel talk about me? I asked, watching her face carefully. Of course he does, all the time. What does he say? She seemed caught off guard. Just that he misses you, that he can't wait for you to come home, normal stuff. Does he seem happy? Happy, I mean, as happy as someone can be when their wife is in the hospital, I guess. He's stressed, worried about you. But when he's at home, when he's with you, does he seem happy? Her eyes narrowed slightly. Laura, what are you really asking me? I'm asking if my husband seems happy spending time with my sister. The air between us went cold. She stared at me and I stared back, and in that moment I saw it. I saw the truth in her eyes, just for a flash, guilt, knowledge, something deeper and darker. Then she laughed, actually laughed. Oh my God, Laura, are you seriously asking me if something's going on between me and Daniel? I didn't say that. But that's what you're implying. She shook her head, but her voice had an edge now. That's insulting, to both of us. I'm your sister. He's your husband. We're both trying to help you, and you're accusing us of what? Having an affair. I didn't use that word. But you're thinking it. She stood up. You know what? Maybe I should go. You're clearly stressed, and I don't want to make things worse. Jessica, wait. But she was already heading for the door. She turned back, and her expression was hurt, wounded. I gave up my apartment for you. I've been cooking and cleaning and taking care of everything so you don't have to worry. And this is what I get, accusations. I'm not accusing, I'm just asking. Well, stop asking. There's nothing going on. Nothing. And honestly, Laura, this paranoia isn't healthy. Maybe you should talk to your doctor about it. She left. The door closed behind her with a soft click that felt somehow louder than a slam. I sat there, alone again, my heart pounding. Had I just ruined everything? Had I accused innocent people of something terrible based on nothing but feelings and vague suspicions? Maybe I was paranoid. Maybe the isolation, the pain, the medication were messing with my head. But deep down, in that place where you just know things, where instinct lives, I knew. I knew something was happening. And I was trapped in this hospital bed, helpless, unable to go home, unable to see for myself, unable to protect what was mine. That was the worst part, not the suspicion, not even the potential betrayal. It was the helplessness. Being stuck, broken, dependent, while my entire life potentially fell apart 60 miles away. After Jessica left that day, I didn't cry. I thought I would. I thought the tears would come flooding out like they had so many times during these endless weeks in the hospital. But instead, I just felt numb, cold, like something inside me had frozen solid and refused to thaw. I stared at the ceiling tiles, counting them for the 100th time, listening to the beeping of machines, the distant voices of nurses in the hallway, the sound of someone's television playing too loudly 3 rooms down. My mind kept replaying everything, every visit, every conversation, every small detail I'd noticed and dismissed, Daniel's distraction, Jessica's glow, the way they'd both started talking about home differently, the way Daniel said we when he talked about household things. We fixed the leaky faucet. We decided to order from that new Thai place. Him and Jessica, not him and me. I'd been erased from my own life and I hadn't even noticed it happening. That night I didn't sleep. I couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw them, in my house, in my kitchen, on my couch, and worse. Images I couldn't stop, couldn't control. Were they in my bed? Were they sharing the sheets I'd picked out, the pillows I slept on, the mattress where Daniel and I had made love countless times? Was she wearing my clothes, using my things, living my life while I rotted away in this hospital bed? The rage came then, not slowly, not gradually. It hit me like a tidal wave, crashing over that numbness and obliterating it completely. My hands clenched into fists. My jaw tightened so hard it ached. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw things. I wanted to rip out my IV and storm out of this place and drive home and catch them. Confront them. Destroy them the way they were destroying me. But I couldn't move. My leg was still healing. I could barely walk 10 steps with a walker without wanting to collapse from pain. I was trapped, caged, helpless. And that's when something shifted inside me. A clarity, a cold, hard understanding. If I confronted them now with nothing but suspicions and feelings, they'd deny it. They'd already started the groundwork, hadn't they? Jessica calling me paranoid, suggesting I talk to my doctor about my unhealthy thoughts. Daniel acting hurt when I questioned him. They'd gaslight me, make me seem crazy. The poor injured wife losing her mind in the hospital, accusing faithful people of terrible things. And I'd have nothing. No proof, no evidence, just my intuition. I needed to be smart about this. Strategic. I couldn't fight them physically, couldn't march into my home and reclaim my territory. But I could fight them in other ways. I could find out the truth, gather proof. And then, when I had everything I needed, when there was no room for denial or excuses, I could strike. I'd spent 12 years building a career on strategic planning, on anticipating problems, on creating solutions. I was good at it, really good. And now I was going to use every single skill I'd ever learned to take back my life. But first, I had to know for certain. I had to see the truth with my own eyes. The next morning, when the nurse came in for morning checks, I asked for a favor. Could I get my laptop set up? I asked. I'd like to start doing some work from here, just emails, light stuff. I think it'll be good for me mentally. She smiled, clearly pleased that I was showing initiative. Of course, I think that's a great idea. Keeping your mind active is important for recovery. Once I had my laptop, I spent the entire day researching. Not work. I didn't care about work right now. I researched surveillance, security cameras, phone tracking, ways to gather evidence of infidelity. I learned about apps that could access security systems remotely, about cloud storage and shared accounts, about digital footprints and how to find them. And then I remembered. We had security cameras. I'd insisted on them 2 years ago after there'd been a string of break-ins in our neighborhood. We had one on the front door, one on the back door, and one in the living room. Daniel had thought it was overkill, but I'd wanted to feel safe. The cameras fed to an app on both our phones and stored footage in the cloud for 30 days. I'd completely forgotten about them. In all the chaos of the accident and recovery, they'd slipped my mind entirely. But they were there, recording, watching. My hands shook as I downloaded the app onto my laptop. I logged in with my credentials, praying Daniel hadn't changed the passwords, praying the cameras were still active. The app loaded. 4 camera feeds appeared on my screen. Front door, back door, living room, all active, all recording. I clicked on the living room feed first. It showed a live view of my house. My furniture, my bookshelf, my coffee table, everything exactly as I'd left it, but also somehow different. There were things that didn't belong. A sweater draped over the back of the couch that wasn't mine or Daniel's. It was Jessica's. I recognized it from one of her visits. There were candles on the mantel that I'd kept stored away, only bringing out for special occasions. They were burned down halfway, clearly used. Regularly used. I switched to the recorded footage, my heart hammering so hard I could hear it in my ears. I started with yesterday. The timestamp showed evening, around 7 o'clock, right when Daniel had been late visiting me, saying he'd lost track of time. The footage loaded. And there they were. Daniel and Jessica, on my couch, sitting close, too close. She was laughing at something he said, her hand on his arm. He was smiling at her, that same smile he'd given me 1,000 times. His guard-down smile, his genuine happiness smile. I watched as he poured wine into 2 glasses, the expensive Merlot we'd been saving for our anniversary. They toasted. To what? I couldn't hear audio on these cameras, but I could see them clink glasses, could see her say something that made him laugh, could see the way he looked at her. The way he used to look at me. I forced myself to keep watching, even though every second felt like a knife twisting in my chest. They drank wine. They talked. She showed him something on her phone, and they looked at it together, heads bent close. She said something, and he shook his head, but he was smiling. She playfully hit his shoulder. He caught her hand, held it. For just a moment, but he held it. Then she stood up, saying something, probably that she was going to the kitchen. He watched her go, and the look on his face when he thought no one could see, when he thought there was no witness to his truth. It was longing, pure, undeniable longing. I slammed the laptop shut. Bile rose in my throat. I barely made it to the bathroom basin beside my bed before I threw up, my body heaving, tears finally streaming down my face. They hadn't kissed, not in that footage. They hadn't done anything explicitly damning, but that almost made it worse, because what I'd witnessed was intimacy, emotional intimacy, the kind you can't fake, the kind that develops when 2 people spend time together, share space, share life. They'd been building something, right there in my home, using my things, drinking my wine, sitting on my furniture. I cleaned myself up, splashed water on my face, and got back into bed. Then I opened the laptop again, because I needed to see more. I needed to know everything. I went back through the footage, days and days of it, and the story it told made me want to die. Week 1 after Jessica moved in, they were polite, distant, barely interacting. Daniel came home from work, ate the dinner Jessica had made, thanked her, and went to his room. She stayed in the guest room. They were housemates, nothing more. Week 2, they started eating dinner together, sitting at the table, talking. I couldn't hear the words, but I could read body language. It was still appropriate, still friendly. Week 3, they moved from the dining table to the couch, started watching TV together, started sharing a bottle of wine with dinner, started sitting closer. Week 4, the week I'd noticed Daniel becoming distracted, the week things had shifted. I watched them on that couch night after night, watched the distance between them shrink, watched her laugh more, touch his arm more, watched him respond, lean in, engage. Week 5, 2 nights ago, I almost couldn't watch this one. They were on the couch again, wine again. But this time, when she put her hand on his arm, he covered it with his own. They sat like that for several minutes, hands touching, talking about something serious. She looked sad. He looked conflicted. Then she leaned her head on his shoulder, and he let her, didn't pull away, didn't move, just sat there with my sister's head on his shoulder like it belonged there. I cycled through timestamps, checking when Daniel claimed to be doing various things. That Thursday when he'd been late because he lost track of time. The footage showed him and Jessica cooking dinner together, laughing, dancing, actually dancing in the kitchen while something cooked on the stove. He spun her around and she giggled like a teenager. Last Sunday when he'd said he needed to run errands and couldn't visit until evening, the footage showed them spending the entire afternoon together. They'd gone out for a while, the cameras showing them leaving together and returning hours later with shopping bags. They'd bought groceries, together, like a couple. I checked the front door camera, so many timestamps of them leaving together, coming home together, him opening the car door for her touching his arm in thanks. I was being replaced, slowly, methodically, deliberately. My sister was sliding into my life, taking my place, and my husband was letting her, welcoming her, maybe even encouraging her. But I still didn't have the smoking gun. I had evidence of emotional infidelity, of inappropriate intimacy, but not proof of an actual affair, not proof that would be undeniable. I needed more. I called Maya. It was late, almost 10 at night, but she answered on the second ring. "Laura, what's wrong?" "I need your help," I said, my voice steady despite the tears still drying on my face. "And I need you not to ask questions yet. I'll explain everything, but first I just need you to trust me." "Of course, anything." I need you to go to my house tomorrow. Make up some excuse, any excuse. Say you're dropping something off for me, picking something up, whatever. I need you to see what's happening there. Really see it. Pay attention to everything. How they interact, how comfortable they are, what the house looks like, everything. There was a pause. Laura, you're scaring me. I know, I'm sorry, but I need eyes in my house. Someone I trust. Can you do this? Yes, of course. I'll go tomorrow after work. Thank you, and Maya, be subtle. I don't want them to know I'm suspicious. I need them to think they're getting away with it. After we hung up, I opened my laptop again. I went into our shared accounts, bank accounts, credit cards. I had access to all of it. We'd always been completely transparent with money, shared everything, trusted each other completely. That transparency was about to become his downfall. I started going through transactions from the past month. Most were normal, groceries, gas, utilities, but there were others. Charges at restaurants I'd never heard of. A florist, a jewelry store. My blood went cold at that one. I clicked for details. The charge was 3 days ago, $247. Daniel had bought jewelry, recently. I hadn't received any jewelry. I checked the date against my hospital records. He'd visited me that evening, staying only an hour, claiming he was exhausted. He'd bought jewelry that afternoon and never mentioned it. Didn't give it to me. So who did he give it to? I screenshotted everything, every suspicious transaction, every receipt. I created a folder on my laptop labeled Physical Therapy Research, so no one would think to look in it. Inside, I built my case. Screenshots, dates, times, video clips pulled from the security footage. Maya called me the next evening. Her voice was tight, angry. Laura, I'm so sorry. You were right. I closed my eyes. Tell me. I went over around 6, said I was dropping off those books you'd finished reading. Jessica answered the door wearing an apron. Your apron. The one with the sunflowers that Daniel bought you. She was cooking, and the whole house smelled like pot roast. Your mother's recipe, the one you only make for special occasions. I remembered teaching Jessica that recipe years ago. She'd said she wanted to learn to cook better. I'd spent an entire Sunday showing her every step, and now she was using it to seduce my husband. Maya continued. Daniel was in the living room. He came to say hi, and Laura, he was so comfortable, so relaxed. He wasn't wearing shoes, just socks, like he'd been home for hours just unwinding. And the way they moved around each other in the space, it was choreographed, like they'd done it 1,000 times. She asked him to open the wine, and he knew exactly which bottle she meant, exactly where the corkscrew was. They were a team. What else? The guest room. I used the bathroom, but I walked past the guest room on the way. The door was open. Laura, her stuff is everywhere, not just staying there temporarily everywhere, like she lives there. She's got photos on the nightstand, decorations on the walls. She's nested. And their bedroom. I couldn't bring myself to say my bedroom. I didn't see inside. The door was closed. She paused. But Laura, there was something else in the living room on the mantel. There was a picture frame I hadn't seen before. I got closer while Daniel was in the kitchen. It was a photo of him and Jessica at the beach. I don't know when it was taken, but it was recent. She was wearing a sundress I saw her in last week. They looked happy, really happy, and someone had framed it and put it on display in your house. A photo of them, in my home, on my mantel, where photos of Daniel and I should be, where our wedding picture used to sit. Were our wedding photos still there? I asked, already knowing the answer. Maya's silence told me everything. They'd been moved, hadn't they? I only saw one, on the bookshelf, kind of tucked behind some other stuff. I thanked Maya and hung up. Then I sat in that hospital bed, in the growing darkness, and made my decision. I wasn't going to confront them yet. I wasn't going to cry or beg or ask for explanations. I was going to wait. I was going to plan. I was going to gather every piece of evidence I could find, build an undeniable case, and then I was going to destroy them both. But I needed the final proof first. I needed to catch them in an act they couldn't deny, couldn't explain away. And I knew exactly how to do it. The doctor had told me I'd be in the hospital for 8 weeks. I was currently at 5 weeks, 3 more to go, but I'd been making excellent progress in physical therapy. Better than expected, actually. Probably because fury is one hell of a motivator. Every painful step, every agonizing exercise, I channeled my rage into healing, into getting stronger, because I needed to get out of here. I needed to go home. But not yet, not until I was ready. I started making phone calls, first to my office. I'd been on medical leave, but I told my boss I wanted to start working remotely just a few hours a day. She was thrilled, said they missed me, needed my expertise on a few projects. Perfect. It gave me a reason to be on my laptop constantly without raising suspicion. Then I called a lawyer, not our family lawyer, a different one who specialized in divorce. I scheduled a phone consultation, told her I needed advice but wasn't ready to file yet. She understood. She'd heard this story before, she said, many times. Document everything, she advised. Photos, videos, bank statements, receipts. If you're planning to file for adultery, you'll need evidence. The more the better. I have videos, I said. Security footage from my home showing them together. Good, but if they haven't been physically intimate on camera, it might not be enough. Do you have any proof of a sexual relationship? Not yet. Then get it. I know that sounds harsh, but if you want this to be clean, if you want to make sure you're protected in the divorce, you need undeniable proof. After we hung up, I sat with that. How was I supposed to get proof of a sexual relationship from a hospital bed 60 miles away? Then I remembered Daniel's phone. We had a shared cloud account for photos and backups. We'd set it up years ago when we got new phones, thought it was convenient to have everything synced. I'd never looked at his phone data before, never had a reason to, but technically I had access. I logged into the cloud account, scrolled through recent photos. Most were normal. Random shots from around the house, a sunset, some work-related photos. Then I found a folder that made my stomach drop. It was labeled Memories with a heart emoji. I clicked it. The first photo was Jessica, just her, sitting in our backyard in the garden I'd planted, wearing a sundress, smiling at the camera. At Daniel. The sun was setting behind her, creating this golden glow. It was beautiful, intimate, the kind of photo you take of someone you're falling for. I kept scrolling, more photos of Jessica. In the kitchen, cooking, on the couch, reading, outside, doing yard work, candid shots, adoring shots, and then selfies, the two of them together, smiling, his arm around her, her kissing his cheek, him kissing her forehead. I documented all of it, screenshot after screenshot. But I still needed more. I needed the absolute, undeniable truth. I went back to the security footage and I watched, every evening, every night, looking for patterns. Daniel usually got home around 6. Jessica would have dinner ready by 6:30. They'd eat together. Then they'd move to the living room. They'd watch TV, talk, drink wine. Around 10 or 11, Daniel would say goodnight and go to his room. Jessica would go to hers. I'd watched this pattern for weeks now. They were being careful, maintaining separate rooms, keeping physical affection to a minimum when they could be seen. But the cameras only covered common areas. I had no way of knowing what happened in the bedrooms, in the spaces I couldn't see. Unless I changed the game. I called a tech-savvy friend from college, Marcus. He worked in IT security and owed me a favor from years back when I'd helped him land a job at a major firm. Marcus, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely confidential about it. Of course, what's up? Hypothetically, if someone wanted to access audio from security cameras that only record video, would that be possible? He was quiet for a moment. Laura, what's going on? I can't explain yet. Please just tell me if it's possible. Depends on the system. Some cameras have audio capabilities, but they're turned off by default. If yours have microphones, I could probably access them remotely and turn them on. But Laura, if this is about what I think it's about, can you do it or not? I can do it, but it might not be legal depending on the circumstances. It's my house, my cameras, my system. I just want to hear what's being said in my own home. He sighed. Send me your system details. I'll see what I can do. 2 days later, Marcus called back. You're in luck. Your cameras have audio. It was disabled, but I activated it. You should be able to hear everything now through the app. That evening, I logged into the app with trembling hands and turned on the living room camera. The video showed Daniel and Jessica on the couch. I clicked the audio icon, and I heard my husband's voice, crystal clear. "I just don't know how much longer I can keep doing this," he was saying. "I know it's hard," Jessica's voice, "but we have to be patient just a little longer. She's going to be released in a few weeks. Then what?" "Then we figure it out, together." Silence. I watched Daniel put his head in his hands. "I never meant for this to happen," he said quietly. "I never meant to feel this way." Jessica moved closer to him, put her hand on his back. "Neither did I, but we can't help how we feel, Daniel. What we have, it's real. You know it is." He looked up at her. "What about Laura?" "What about her? Daniel, be honest. Were you really happy before the accident?" He trailed off. "I don't know anymore." "You deserve to be happy. We both do." I watched, my heart turning to ice as Jessica leaned in, as Daniel didn't pull away, as their lips met in a kiss that was soft, tender, and absolutely devastating. I had my proof. I had everything I needed. And now, I was going to plan their destruction. I spent the next week planning everything down to the smallest detail, every move, every word, every piece of evidence organized and ready. I wasn't going to leave anything to chance. This wasn't about emotion anymore. This was strategy. This was war, and I was going to win. The doctor came by on a Thursday morning with news I'd been simultaneously hopping for and dreading. "Laura, I have to say, your progress has been remarkable, truly exceptional. Your physical therapist says you're exceeding every benchmark we set. If you continue like this, we might be able to discharge you earlier than expected." "How much earlier?" I asked, keeping my voice neutral even though my heart was racing. "Possibly next week. Week 6 instead of week 8. You'd still need outpatient physical therapy, regular checkups, a wheelchair for longer distances, but you could recover at home. How does that sound?" "That sounds perfect," I said, and I meant it. I didn't tell Daniel about the early discharge. When he visited that evening, distracted as always, staying barely an hour before claiming exhaustion, I said nothing about the doctor's news. I just smiled and nodded and let him think everything was proceeding exactly as planned. Let him think he had more time. Let him feel safe. I didn't tell Jessica either. She'd stopped visiting almost entirely by this point. I'd seen her once in the past 2 weeks, and that visit had lasted maybe 20 minutes before she'd made an excuse about needing to get back. Back to my house, back to my husband, back to my life. Instead, I called Maya. "I need you to help me with something, and I need you to keep it completely secret." "Anything," she said without hesitation. "I'm being discharged next Friday, but Daniel doesn't know. I'm going to come home and catch them. I need you to drive me." "Oh my God, Laura, are you sure about this?" "I've never been more sure of anything in my life." My voice was steel. "I have all the evidence I need for the divorce, but I want them to know that I know. I want to see their faces. I want them to understand that they didn't get away with it." "What do you need me to do?" We spent an hour planning. Maya would pick me up from the hospital on Friday afternoon. Daniel thought I wasn't being discharged until Sunday, so he'd be at work, unsuspecting. We'd drive to the house. I'd use my keys to let myself in. And whatever I found, whatever was happening, I'd confront it head-on. But I had one more card to play, one more piece of the trap to set. That night, I sent Daniel a text message. "Hey, honey, the doctor said I can have my phone back on for longer periods now. It's helping with my mental health. I was thinking, I really miss seeing the house. Would you mind FaceTiming me tomorrow evening so you can walk me through the rooms? I just want to see our home. I miss it so much." He responded 20 minutes later. "Of course, baby. That's a great idea. How about tomorrow around 8? Perfect. I knew from weeks of watching the security footage that 8 o'clock was right in the middle of their nightly routine. Their cozy time on the couch. Their wine and intimacy time. The next evening, at exactly 8 o'clock, I called Daniel on FaceTime. He answered, and I could immediately tell something was off. He was in the bedroom, our bedroom, not the living room where he should have been. His hair was slightly messy. He looked flustered. "Hey," he said, smiling, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Sorry, I'll walk you through the house." "Is everything okay? You seem rushed." No, everything's fine. I was just finishing up some work." I could see him moving through the house, pointing the camera at various rooms. The kitchen, clean and tidy. The dining room, table set for two with the nice placemats. My nice placemats. The ones I saved for dinner parties. "Why is the table set?" I asked innocently. Jessica made dinner. She likes to make things nice." "That's sweet of her. Where is she?" "I think she's in her room," he said too quickly. I was watching the security footage on my laptop at the same time. I could see Jessica in the living room, frozen, looking toward where Daniel's voice was coming from. She was wearing a black dress. Makeup done, hair styled, like she'd dressed up for a date, for dinner with my husband. "Can you show me the living room?" I asked. "I want to see if my plants are okay." "Sure, yeah." He sounded nervous now. The camera panned to the living room quickly, like he was trying to rush past it. But I saw enough. The candles on the coffee table lit, 2 wine glasses half empty, the dim lighting. He'd set a mood for her. "The plants look good," I said, my voice calm despite the rage building in my chest. "What kind of wine are you drinking?" "What? Oh, just something Jessica picked up." "The Merlot, our anniversary Merlot." Silence. He'd forgotten that he'd told me we were saving that bottle. "Daniel, is there something you want to tell me?" "What? No, Laura, what are you talking about?" "You seem nervous, distracted, like you're hiding something." "I'm not hiding anything. You're being paranoid again." His voice had an edge now, defensive, angry even. "Paranoid, right." That's what Jessica said too. "Because it's true. Laura, I don't know what's going on with you, but these accusations, this suspicion, it's not healthy." And there it was, the gaslighting, making me question my own sanity, my own instincts, turning his betrayal into my mental health problem. "You're right," I said softly. "I'm sorry. I think being in here so long is messing with my head. I just miss you, miss home." He softened immediately. Guilt, probably. "I miss you too. Just 1 more week, right? Then you'll be home and everything will go back to normal." Normal? He actually believed that. Believed that he could have his affair, that I'd come home none the wiser, that somehow he'd manage both of us or choose one of us, and everything would be fine. "Yeah," I said. 1 more week. I love you, Daniel." A pause, a tiny hesitation that told me everything. "I love you too." We hung up. I sat there in the darkness of my hospital room, that conversation playing in my head. The last time I'd said I love you to my husband. The last time he'd said it back, even if he hadn't meant it. The next few days dragged by with excruciating slowness. I continued watching the cameras, continued documenting. The footage from that Friday night, after our phone call, showed Daniel returning to the living room. Showed Jessica asking if everything was okay. Showed him pulling her into his arms, kissing her hair, saying something I couldn't quite hear but could guess. "It's fine. She doesn't know anything." They finished their romantic dinner. They drank the anniversary wine. They slow danced in my living room to music I couldn't hear. And then, around 11, they walked down the hallway together, Daniel's arm around her waist, both of them heading toward the bedroom, my bedroom. The cameras didn't show what happened next, but I didn't need them to. I saved that footage, added it to my collection, added it to the mountain of evidence that would bury them both. Finally, Friday arrived. Discharge day, the real one, the one they didn't know about. Maya picked me up at 2 in the afternoon. A nurse wheeled me out with my belongings, helped me into Maya's car. I'd refused the wheelchair to take home, insisted I could manage with a cane now. I needed to be mobile, needed to be strong for what was coming. "Are you ready for this?" Maya asked as we pulled out of the hospital parking lot. I looked down at my phone, at the security app showing live footage of my empty house. Daniel was at work. Jessica was out, probably shopping or at a coffee place, living her best life on what I assumed was money from our joint account. They should be home by 6, I said. Daniel gets off at 5:30. He'll come straight home to her. That's the pattern. And you're absolutely sure you want to do this? Confront them together. I need them both there. I need them to see each other's faces when the truth comes out. I need them to know I know everything. We stopped by Maya's apartment first. She'd been keeping something for me, a folder. Inside were printed copies of everything. Bank statements with suspicious charges highlighted. Screenshots of text messages I'd recovered from our cloud account. Messages between Daniel and Jessica that had been deleted from his phone but lived forever in the backup. Printed photos from Daniel's memories folder. Transcripts I'd made of conversations I'd heard through the security cameras. And a flash drive, containing video footage, every damning moment. We got to my house at 4:30. Early. I wanted to be there first, wanted the advantage of position. Maya helped me up the front steps. I used my key, the one I'd kept with me through everything, and opened the door to my own home. The smell hit me first. Different. The house smelled like Jessica's perfume, that heavy floral scent she always wore. It had permeated everything. This was my space, my sanctuary, and it smelled like her. I walked through slowly, leaning on my cane, Maya beside me. The living room looked different. Small changes, but significant. Throw pillows I'd never seen before. A blanket on the couch that wasn't mine. Books on the coffee table that belonged to Jessica. The wedding photos that had been on the mantel were gone entirely now, replaced by 3 framed photos. One of Daniel and Jessica at the beach. One of them hiking somewhere. One of just Jessica, that golden hour shot from the backyard. She'd redecorated my home, erased me from it. I continued to the bedroom. The door was closed. I opened it. The bed was made, but it wasn't made the way I made it. The pillows were arranged differently. And on the nightstand on my side of the bed, there was a framed photo of Jessica and Daniel. On my nightstand. In my bedroom. I opened the closet. My clothes had been pushed to one side. The other side, Daniel's side, now held some of Jessica's things. Dresses, blouses. She'd moved into my closet. Into my marriage. Into my entire existence. On the dresser, I found the jewelry. A necklace I'd never seen before with a delicate pendant. It was in a box from the jeweler Daniel had visited. $247 for my sister. I picked it up, held it, felt the weight of his betrayal in my palm. "Laura," Maya said softly from the doorway, "are you okay?" "No," I said honestly, "but I will be." I went to the guest room, Jessica's room. It looked like someone's permanent bedroom. She'd painted one wall a different color without my permission, hung art, made it hers. On the desk, I found something that made my blood boil, a notebook. I opened it. Inside were plans, actual written plans, notes about Daniel, things he liked, things I used to do that she should do better, strategies, make his favorite meals, laugh at his jokes, be supportive about work stress, wear the blue dress he likes blue. She'd been studying him, studying my marriage, planning how to take him from me. This wasn't accidental. This wasn't 2 people falling unexpectedly in love. This was calculated, predatory. She'd seen an opportunity when I was at my weakest and she'd taken it. I photographed the notebook pages, added them to my evidence. Then Maya and I went to the living room. We sat, we waited. At 6:15, I heard the garage door open. Daniel was home. I heard his car pull in, the engine shut off, his door slam, keys jingling, the door from the garage to the kitchen opening. "Jessica," he called out, "I'm home." I didn't answer, neither did Maya. We just sat there waiting. I heard him moving through the kitchen. "Jess, are you here?" Then he walked into the living room and froze. For a moment, neither of us spoke. We just looked at each other. I watched the color drain from his face, watched his eyes go wide, watched his mouth open but no words come out. "Hi, honey," I said calmly. "I'm home." "Laura, what? When did you?" They said Sunday. "I got discharged early. Surprise." I smiled, but it was ice. "Aren't you happy to see me?" Of course I am. You should have called. I would have picked you up." I'm sure you would have, after you hid all the evidence, after you coached Jessica, after you made my house look like I still lived here instead of like my sister had moved into my place. My voice was still calm, deadly calm. What are you talking about? Don't, the word came out sharp. Don't you dare insult me by lying, not now, not anymore. He looked at Maya, then back at me. Laura, I think the hospital stay has been really hard on you. Maybe we should. I know about the affair, Daniel. Silence, complete suffocating silence. There's no affair, he said, but his voice shook. Jessica and I are just what? Just living together, just playing house, just sleeping in our bed, just erasing me from my own life. We haven't, he stopped, realized he'd just confirmed something. You haven't what? Haven't slept together, really? That's the lie you're going with. The front door opened. We all turned. Jessica walked in, carrying shopping bags, laughing at something on her phone. She looked up and saw us. The bags slipped from her hands, crashing to the floor. Laura, she breathed, you're home. I am, in my house. Surprising, isn't it? That I'd be in my own house. She looked at Daniel. He looked at her. And in that exchange, I saw everything. The panic, the guilt, the silent communication of two people who'd been caught. I think we should all sit down and talk about this calmly, Jessica said, recovering quickly, always the performer. There's clearly been some misunderstanding. No misunderstanding, I said. I know everything, every detail, every lie, every moment. Laura, whatever you think you know, Daniel started. I reached into the folder beside me and pulled out a stack of photos, threw them on the coffee table. They scattered across the surface, images of them together, kissing, embracing, the beach photo, the hiking photo, selfies in our bed. They both stared at the photos. Jessica's face went pale. Daniel looked like he might be sick. I have more, I said. I have videos from our security cameras, hours of footage of you two playing house. I have bank statements showing you bought her jewelry, took her to expensive dinners, spent our money on your affair. I have text messages. I have recordings of your conversations where you talk about me, about how to handle me, about your feelings for each other. You've been spying on us. Jessica's shock turned to anger, always good at offense as defense. In my own house, with my own security system, that's not spying. That's protecting what's mine. I turned to Daniel. Did you really think I wouldn't find out? Did you think you could just replace me with her and I'd never notice? It's not like that, he said weakly. Then what is it like? Explain it to me, Daniel. Explain how you kissed my sister while I was lying in a hospital bed. Explain how you gave her jewelry while I was learning to walk again. Explain how you moved her into our bedroom, into my closet, into my life. Tears were streaming down his face now. I'm sorry. God, Laura, I'm so sorry. You're sorry you did it or sorry you got caught. He didn't answer, couldn't answer. I turned to Jessica, my sister, my blood. And you saw me broken and helpless and you saw an opportunity. You didn't come here to help me. You came here to take everything I had. That's not true, she said, but her voice lacked conviction. I found your notebook, Jess. Your little manual for stealing my husband. All your strategies and plans. This wasn't love. This was a con. Her face crumpled. You don't understand. You've always had everything. The perfect career, the perfect house, the perfect husband. Do you know what it's like to be the failure sister, to always be compared to you? To never be good enough. So you decided to destroy my life. That was your solution. I didn't mean for it to happen, she shouted. But yes, okay. Yes, I was jealous. I've always been jealous. And when I came here, when I spent time with Daniel, I realized he wasn't as happy as you thought. He was lonely. You were always working, always focused on your career. You took him for granted. Don't you dare blame me for your choices, I said, standing up, leaning on my cane. I was hit by a truck. I almost died. And while I was fighting to survive, to heal, you two were falling in love over my wine and my dinner table and my bed. You don't get to make me the villain in this story. Daniel stepped forward. Laura, please, can we talk about this? Just you and me. What's there to talk about? Our marriage, our future. This doesn't have to be the end. I actually laughed, a harsh, bitter sound. You're right. This isn't the end. The end happened weeks ago when you decided she was worth more than your vows. This is just the aftermath. I still love you, he said desperately. No, you don't. And honestly, I don't think I love you either. Not anymore. You killed that. Both of you killed that. I picked up my folder, held it up. I've already contacted a lawyer. I'm filing for divorce on the grounds of adultery. I have more than enough evidence. This folder is just a preview. You'll both be hearing from my attorney. Laura, wait, Jessica started. No, I'm done waiting. I waited in that hospital while you stole my life. I'm not waiting anymore. I looked around my house, my beautiful house that no longer felt like home. I'm staying with Maya tonight. I'll be back tomorrow with a moving company. I want you both out, Jessica. You have 24 hours to pack your things and leave. Daniel will work out living arrangements through the lawyers. This is my house too, Daniel said. And it'll be sorted in the divorce. Until then, I'm not living with either of you. I walked toward the door, Maya supporting me. Every step hurt, my legs screaming in protest, but I didn't let it show. I wouldn't give them the satisfaction of seeing me weak. At the door, I turned back. They were both standing there, frozen, looking shattered. You deserve each other, I said. I hope it was worth it. And I walked out of my house, out of my marriage, out of that chapter of my life. Behind me, I heard Jessica start to cry. Heard Daniel say something in a low, urgent voice. But I didn't look back. I was done looking back.